Hey guys, it's Sherry. It's going to be a miracle if we get through this lesson today. I sat down to do it and the pantry door behind me was open, so that bothered me. So I stopped and I shut the pantry door. And then I came back and then my earring fell out of my ear and I couldn't find the back to my earring, so I stopped it again. And then the camera fell over, and what else? The camera ran out of battery, so I had to plug it in. That's why I'm over here in the corner in the kitchen. So just forgive all the mishaps. But today we're going to do chapter 21 in the book of Revelation as a Sunday school lesson. Again, this is not in depth. We're not in the atmosphere where we can ask questions and really talk about everything. So I'm just going to explain what I can to you. And I just hope that through this you've learned something. You probably haven't learned a lot, but I promise each time that you read and study the book of Revelation, you will learn more and more. And last week we went through chapters 19 and 20, and we learned about the bride of Christ and the supper of the Lamb, two separate things, and that the focus is on the Lamb. Now John's going to continue to pen for us the last two chapters of the book. So today we're just going to go through and I'll do just a little overview of this chapter for everyone as in a Sunday school lesson. And then John says, "And now I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away. Also there was no more sea." So he sees a new heaven and a new earth. You know, God created the heaven and the earth, and God loves his earth, and he did so many marvelous, beautiful things for us in his earth, and it's passed away. But there's something that's missing. The sea is missing. There's no more sea. And for me, it just seems like God's changing the climate, the atmosphere, no more hurricanes, typhoons, tsunamis, whatever the situation may be. That's just my opinion. Tornadoes, thunderstorms, and all that. The sea will be gone. And that's kind of sad because I know we all love the sea and we love the sea animals and all of that, but they're not going to be in the new heaven and the new earth. He says, "Then I, John," I love that. Every time I read that, "Then I, John," it was kind of like the first time He's saying it was me, I, John, saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. So here's what John sees. He sees a holy city called a new Jerusalem. It's coming down out of heaven. It's coming down, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. A lot of people don't grasp this when they study the book of Revelation. It's very interesting. It's kind of like I, John, I'm a nobody, and I, John, got to see this, and he got to see a lot. And he refers to Jerusalem as a holy city, and it's a new one, and it's adorned. In Jerusalem, the old one, or in Babylon, there was sin. In the New Jerusalem, there will be no sin. In Babylon, there was no love for God. In the New Jerusalem, there will be love for God. And in Babylon, God's wrath was there, and God's love is in the New Jerusalem. And I'm just going to skim these next few verses because they're kind of lengthy. 21, 3 through 8. And he says, I heard a voice from heaven saying, "Behold, the tabernacle of God is with men. He will dwell with them, and they shall be his people." He's explaining what's going to happen in this new Jerusalem. And he says, "I'm going to wipe away every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death, no more sorrow, no more crying." Because those who, made it through the Great Tribulation or had been martyred, they had went through that. And I know we go through that in our physical lives as well. But he's referring to here because he talks about the tears in the previous lessons. We don't have time to go back and dissect all that. But he talks about wiping away tears and sorrow and crying and pain because they're in pain from different things that they had to deal with. And he says, "Behold, I make all things new." And he tells them to write these words. He's telling John, "I am the Omega, the Alpha, the Omega." That means the beginning and the end. I'm all of this. And it parallels with the book of Genesis. He created things and he's making all things new here in Revelation. It's very, very detailed. He says God will be there. He'll wipe away your tears. There'll be no more death, no more sorrow, no crying, no more pain. The former things will pass away. He will make all things new. He who overcomes will inherit these things. He will be our God, and we will be his people. And he goes on to explain all of that. And he says, "And then one of the seven angels who had the seven bowls filled with the seven last plagues came to me and talked with me, saying, 'Come, and I will show you the bride, the Lamb's wife.'" So one of these angels is coming to John, and he carried him away in the spirit to a great high mountain and showed me the great city, the great city, the holy Jerusalem, descending out of heaven from God. Okay, get the picture. It's descending out of heaven from God. I'm going to explain it a little better in a minute. Having the glory of God, her light was like the most precious stone, like jasper stone, clear as crystal. Now, it had the glory of God in it, all right? God's glory is full of light and is bright like a diamond. Now, if you are in my class, I give you a chart of all of these colors. There's sapphire, emerald, beryl, topaz, amethyst. There's all these colors. And it says that she also had a great high wall with 12 gates and 12 angels at the gates, and names written on them, which were the names of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. 3 gates on the east, 3 gates on the north, 3 gates on the south, and 3 gates on the west. So here's what John sees, and I think it's good for me to show you these little artist pictures. Okay, here's the New Jerusalem coming out, and see all the glitter, the fanciness, and I'll show you as we talk about it. But here's the artist pictures, the pearls. There's 3 on the north, south, east, and west. Each direction, there's 3 pearls. There's the foundation, as you can see right here. These foundations are different colors of jewels and stones, and he says it's illuminated with God's glory. That's where all that sparkle comes from. And here's another artist picture of the gates. We don't know if it'll be a round pearl or if it'll be pearls like this. This artist shows pearl gates looking like this, 3 on each side. And here's another up close of the foundation. You can see all the colors of the foundation and the pearl gate right here in this picture. Very interesting. And this one is one that I pass out like for homework and stuff, but there's all different kinds of artist views. You can see the foundations and the illumination of the city. And this one has the tree of life. I'll explain that in a minute too. But these pictures are very helpful. I mean, I think they help when you get to see a picture, okay? So the gates, a great high wall with 12 gates and 12 angels at the gates. Here's a gate right here. It's 216 feet thick. Can you imagine? All right, so he says there's the names of the 12 tribes of Israel, and on these gates, the tribes. That's Gad, Levi, Reuben, Asher, that's Ben, Manasseh, Zebulon, all of these, Joseph, all of these tribes are on these pearly gates. And then he says, now on the wall of the city had 12 foundations, and on them were the names of the 12 apostles of God. So you've got the tribes, and then you've got the apostles, okay? And this picture here, you can see it has, I don't know if you can see it or not, but each one of these foundations, it might be upside down, I don't know, but each one of them has the names of the 12 apostles. Each wall had a foundation, and the names of the 12 apostles were on them. Peter, Andrew, James, John, Philip, all those guys, okay? And it says that he talked to me, and he who talked with me, that was the angel, had a gold reed to measure the city, its gates and its walls, and the city laid out in a square. And he talks about how it's equal. And this picture here shows a good representation of that. It's a big square. It's equal on all sides. It's 1,500 miles high. It's 1,500 miles in every direction. It's the same size all the way around. It's 1,500 miles wide. It's 1,500 miles high. And it would equal approximately 2 million square feet of living space. It would fit, it was bigger than the moon. Its diameter is 2,600, and the diameter of the moon is 2,160. So they're very close. So that's how big it will be. And it says that he measured the wall 144 cubits according to the measure of man, that is an angel. So he's telling us how they measured. And back then in the day, they measured like from the elbow to the tip of their finger, if you go back and look at history. But, if you want to get into all that measurement stuff, we can do that in class sometime. But right now, we're just going to move forward. And it talks about the construction of the wall was jasper. The city was pure gold, like clear glass. The foundations of the wall of the city were adorned with all kinds of precious stones. I just shared that with you. And then it lists all the kinds of stones: blue, blue-green, green, red, gold, all these colors. Now, jasper is believed to be, if you can imagine, something like a diamond, all right? And he says the 12 gates were 12 pearls. Each individual gate was of 1 pearl. So each gate was 1 pearl. This is what this artist shows, each gate being 1 pearl. And then this artist shows the gates being round, and he shows it as one pearl like that. And that's how you enter through the gates. The 12 gates were 12 pearls. Each individual gate was of one pearl, and the street of the city was pure gold, like transparent glass. The street of the city. It doesn't say streets with an S. It says street. So it's one street. It goes a lot of places, but it's the street of the city. It's pure gold. It's as if you could see through it. He said, but I saw no temple in it, for the Lord God Almighty and the Lamb are its temple. The city had no need for the sun or the moon to shine in it, for the glory of God illuminated it. The Lamb is the light, because God's illumination is immeasurable. He can light up anything. And so there's no need for light in the New Jerusalem. And the nations of those who were saved shall walk in its light, and the kings of the earth bring their glory and honor to it. So he's talking about the nations. That's everybody who is a believer of the Lord will walk in its light, in the light of the Lord. It's not just one group of people, y'all. It's the nations. And you know, we have some religious groups that think there's only going to be 144,000 there. It doesn't say that. It never does. It never has. It says that the nations will walk in it. There's too many to count. And it says its gates will not be shut at all by day. There shall be no night there, because it's always illuminated. It's showing us that evil will not have any part of this New Jerusalem. And they shall bring the glory and honor of the nations into it. But there shall by no means enter anything that defiles or causes an abomination or a lie, but only those who are written in the Lamb's Book of Life. So only those who are written in the Lamb's Book of Life shall enter into this New Jerusalem, into the new city, the redeemed. They're the only ones, the saved. And what we have to ask ourselves is, are we saved? Are we going to be in this New Jerusalem? That's the end of our lesson today. I think I went too fast, maybe. I thought I would have trouble getting through it, but we went pretty fast. So this afternoon when we do chapter 22, am I right? Yeah. When we do chapter 22, we'll talk about the tree of life and all of that. But right now, just get it in your mind that, you know, there is heaven and there is earth, but Jesus is going to bring down a new Jerusalem, and it's going to be this. A lot of people don't get that. They don't understand that. They think that this is something that's in heaven. Apparently, it suspends above the earth, and it's the New Jerusalem. And it's beautiful. It's adorned with precious stones, and it's the 12 tribes of Israel are engraved, and the apostles, their names are engraved on the gates and on the foundations. It's going to be a beautiful place. It's illuminated. It's the same size in every direction. It's huge, and it's suspended above the earth, and it's called the New Jerusalem. God's making. What was the first thing that John said in this? And now I saw a new heaven and a new earth. Not the same heaven and earth that we've had. It's a new heaven and a new earth. And I'll explain more about that this afternoon. Very interesting indeed. Okay, guys, I'll see y'all after a while.